Good Wednesday afternoon to you. It's 4 o'clock time for Sports4CLE. Plenty of Browns to talk about. A little later in the show, Spencer German from 92.3 The Fan will join us. A little later, it'll be Jacob Roach from Dog Pound Daily. We begin with news of the Deshaun Watson hearing. It continues day 2. Being heard out in Delaware with Sue L. Robinson, the disciplinary officer that was appointed by the NFLPA as well as the league. And it could continue into potentially a day 3 is what we are hearing. Some other news coming out, and this is from Pro Football Talk. NFL leaks that it is more likely to accept Judge Robinson's ruling on Deshaun Watson if she suspends him 6 to 8 games. Pro Football Talk not necessarily buying that. A little later in the day, Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter from the Plain Dealer, as well as cleveland.com, checked with her sources around the league. Not true that the NFL would likely accept a 6 to 8 game suspension for Deshaun Watson if that is what Sue L. Robinson hands down in the initial settlement between Watson and the league. All right, let's take a listen. This is kind of interesting on the Pat McAfee show. Peter Schrager, NFL Network personality, on whether the Watson case is in fact going to be tried in the court of public opinion from the league's perspective.
I think the public relations part of it, which you guys were discussing beforehand, I'm not so sure that's going to dictate how this goes. I think it's going to be from the facts that they have and from the recommendations that Ms. Robinson has on it, Justice Robinson has on this thing, because you start playing a game where you're trying to please one group versus the other, and there's a no-win in that one.
I mean, there's going to be people that are pissed regardless. I mean,
this is a no-win regardless. So say they give him a year, well, then there's going to be a case from the PA saying, well, there's no precedent to give him a year based on the evidence that we have.
Again, very valid point as far as one side or the other is going to have a following that's upset with the ruling of Deshaun Watson. All right, same show, Pat McAfee, Peter Schrager, just talking about all the things that have to be considered with the rendering of the suspension for Deshaun Watson.
There is precedent. Ben Roethlisberger had 2 cases that did not go to court. They both got settled. He got suspended 6 games for that. That got appealed down to 4. That's 2. Now, I guess it's not fair just to do math and just do that whole thing. But I appreciate the fact that the NFLPA is saying publicly there's no precedent with this with Robert Kraft or Daniel Snyder or Jerry Jones, which I guess there isn't. But we also all understand that they're owners of the league in which you are currently going to court at, right? Yeah. There is precedent in the past, and I assume that's exactly what the NFL is saying to Justice Sue Robinson. Whenever the NFLPA, Jeffrey Kessler is an incredible lawyer. He got free agency, I think, and numerous other things. I know he's a power player, but the public perception of them saying there's no precedent, there's no precedent, there's no precedent. I think I was in Pittsburgh. Or no, I wasn't. I was in a cold already.
It was 06 when it went down, and I was starting to cover the league then, and that was Goodell, like, as a new commissioner, one of the first things, and he, like, laid the hammer down, and people were like, damn, like, whoa, okay. And here we are all these years later, and Goodell's, this long tenured commissioner. And I think this might be one of the trickiest cases yet that he's had to rule on. I think he's going to lean on what the justice says, but not public relations. I feel like this is going to be what the facts are and what they have. And, to just throw the book at Deshaun Watson because they feel like that's the right thing to do and that's going to be a win publicly. The NFLPA is powerful, and Jeffrey Kessler is not going to take that and just go down without a fight.
And with that, let's welcome in Jeff Risdon from BrownsWire.com. Jeff, all very valid points, and it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out.
It really is, and there's so many different conflicting information that you get. You get, Mary Kay, who I trust on this, and Pro Football Talk, who certainly has their reputation, behind them. And I think what Schrager said there at the end is very important, and he brought up the Ben Roethlisberger precedent. And it is important to remember that Roger Goodell was new on the job back then. I think he wanted, at that time, remember, the Bengals had a series of arrests. The Raiders had a bunch of arrests. There was the Vikings had their party boat thing. All that was like the background, and the NFL needed an image change. It needed to be cleaned up, and Roger went in and cleaned up with, protected the shield. And that's one of the subtext of why Roethlisberger got hit, even though he settled out of court and didn't necessarily have anything proven against him. it's a different time now. So I do think that the precedent is set out. But this is a case where they're trying to set a precedent, a new precedent. This is the first case that's being educated with an independent arbitrator chosen by both the league and the NFLPA after the new CBA. And accepting what is done from that is very big. And I think Schrager hit on it at the end there. If you don't accept what the arbitrator says, the NFLPA is going to be, and rightly so, will be like, what do we even negotiate for? Why are we doing this? What's the point of having this agreement if you're just going to violate it or not go with it? And I think that's a very important thing to understand why the NFL probably has to accept what she does, even if they don't want to, because the NFLPA does have a lot of leverage in that. This is collectively bargained that they're having this arbitrator go for it. And I do think that gets lost a little bit. Like, yes, the NFL can do what they want to, but there is consequence to that action if they go against what the arbitrator suggests there. And I think that, as Schrager noted, the NFLPA has a lot at stake here too, and they certainly have a lot of very interested parties looking on in that. And I think I tend to lean towards that the NFL is going to have to accept what Justice Robinson chooses, whether they like it or not.
Yeah, and along those lines, this is from Gabe Feldman, and he is a sports lawyer, does some Sports in the Law podcasts. He's had Rusty Hardin on. NFL can almost guarantee this case will end up in federal court if they don't accept Robinson's decision. Not aware of any precedent whereby the commissioner increased the suspension by a given independent hearing officer, or where the commissioner even had the power to do that. He continues to say, at a time when the NFL is facing scrutiny from Congress about Daniel Snyder, battling lawsuits from John Gruden and Brian Flores, last thing in the world they want to do is end up back in court against the NFLPA, against Jeffrey Kessler, who is the lawyer, the independent lawyer, who is without question a heavy hitter in these matters. And that's an even better point.
Yeah, and again, you have to throw in the context. There are other things that are going on in the NFL besides this that are not looking good for the league. The Daniel Snyder situation, like they actually have concrete proof of what he did wrong, and they're sort of being inactive on that. Deshaun, there's a lot of gray area. We've talked a lot about it. It doesn't look good, but there's a lot of gray area where you can make an argument one way or the other to soften the blow, whichever side you're on, or strengthen your blow. The fact that Snyder is still doing what he did and skipped out on a subpoena because he's overseas representing his own team, there's a lot that the NFLPA can come back and be like, hey, where are you coming from with this? Like, what are you thinking about? And Kessler is a very good lawyer. They have other very good lawyers. Remember Goodell as the commissioner. And he embraces this more than other commissioners have. He is the representative of the 32 owners. And when 2 or 3 of the owners are in trouble, he has to protect them. That's literally his job. So he's got to give somewhere. And again, with the owners being the people who pay him and who empower him, if he goes against them, he doesn't have anywhere to go. So I think he has to do the giving. Easy for me to say, on the Deshaun Watson case here. He's got to go along with what the NFLPA and has agreed to in their CBA. Otherwise, you're throwing out the CBA, and then you're starting over again. Nobody wants to go through that. Not the NFLPA, not the owners, not the players, not the player reps. Nobody wants to go through that again. And going and violating the terms of it, that's what you're doing.
Yeah, and the flip side of it is there is a clause in there that says the owners are held to a higher standard of the code of conduct. So that's another thing that's kind of a check mark for the Players Association, and you can be sure that will be repeated time and time again. All right, let's move away from that. The assumption is, on my part, there's going to be some sort of suspension for Deshaun Watson, be it 6, 8, 10, 12 games. All right, so that means Jacoby Brissett is likely to be the starting quarterback, barring some unforeseen trade after the Watson suspension comes down. What do you expect? What can Browns fans expect? What do you expect? What should we all expect from Jacoby Brissett as a starter with a pretty good roster?
Yeah, it's interesting because he is the most likely Week 1 starter, and he is the one of the three. I guess there's technically four quarterbacks in Cleveland who gets like no press. Like nobody ever talks about what Jacoby Brissett can do. I actually went back and watched what he did a little bit with Miami last year. He started, I think it was 5 games, but the full season where he started for the Colts, and it's interesting because he is sort of the anti-Baker. Like if Baker Mayfield's willingness to challenge the defense and make mistakes and live with it, if that bothered you, you're going to like Jacoby Brissett a lot because he's a guy, he is so risk averse that it creates problems for his offense because he doesn't actually challenge down the field. There are instances, and if you watch the Dolphins tape earlier last year, now to be fair to Jacoby, this is also true with Tua Tagovailoa. Defenses didn't even cover deep because they knew that he wasn't ever going to throw there. And some of that was weapon related. They had a lot of guys, especially in his Colts years, other than T.Y. Hilton, that work sort of that intermediate range, and he's good and fairly accurate at that. But he's a very different style of quarterback. He's not a guy who's going to take a chance if he sees that a guy's covered. He's not throwing him open. He's not going to try, and that's something. It will play to Kevin Stefanski's sensibilities to some extent, but at the same time, I think we're going to see David Njoku be frustrated when he has a step on a guy, but Jacoby is afraid to pull the trigger because the safety might creep over there. And look, Jacoby, he's pretty accurate, especially on shorter passes. He is very good at recognizing the easiest option on a route. That's something. When remember the Denver game last year when Case Keenum came in. And it felt like Case struggled a little bit with that. So I think you're going to see Brissett be a slightly better version of the Case Keenum that we saw last year, rather than a guy who's going to be what Deshaun Watson or Baker Mayfield would be in this offense. And that can work, but it's going to require, and again, this is where Amari Cooper's presence comes in. The fact that he can create after the catch. The fact that you got a guy like David Bell who can catch a 2-yard slant and turn it into an 8 or 9 yard gain on first down. That's critical for a guy like Jacoby Brissett because he's not going to be a guy who challenges down the field. His average air yards per attempt was lowest in the league, or in the bottom 3 in the league, every time he's been a qualifying player. That's not going to change in Cleveland. That's who he is. This is, I believe, it's his 7th NFL season. It's his 4th NFL team. He is who he is. You got to understand who he is, and hopefully Kevin Stefanski realizes that. But just expect more cautiousness. And for those of you, and I'm one of them who screamed, "Run the stinking ball more!" That expect to see that.
Jeff Risdon from BrownsWire.com and I are going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Sports4CLE will continue talking Browns after this timeout.
Has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with Jeff Risdon from BrownsWire.com. Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about the Deshaun Watson decision.
Hello, my name is Wesley, and I'm a fan of the show and of the Browns. And my question is, can a judge arbitrator make a non-biased decision in this case? The system seems like it's already made a convicted decision about everything, and seems like the weight of the world is involved in this decision. And I'd like to add another comment that if this arbitrator was a man, they would never accept his decision. So I hope to hear your response to this, and if so, please let me know and give me a call back, or I'll listen to you on the show. Thank you very much. Take care. God bless.
All right, Wesley, appreciate all the voicemails. Jeff, what I would say to that is this is a much more unbiased appeal process or hearing than when Roger Goodell was the independent arbitrator, who wasn't very independent. He was the judge, jury, and executioner. That's why they get the independent. Yes, so I understand the thought that there might be some bias, but this was collectively bargained with the players trying to get a fairer shake.
Yeah, and again, this is something that this arbitrator was chosen and approved by both the NFL and the NFLPA. There's not going to be a bias now if the caller is insinuating that, because she's a female, she might be more sensitive to the accusers rather than Watson. I would hope not. I hope that's not the case. I hope that people who get appointed to that position take their independence seriously. Obviously, you can't. I don't know her. I can't rule that out. But I would tend to trust her and trust both sides of this party to this is going to be an independent agreement that's reached based on the code of conduct that the NFL holds its players to, and what Deshaun Watson has been proven he did and did not do.
Yeah, I would agree. She's a former federal judge, so they pretty much do the letter of law, precedent, and those kind of things. So I agree with you. All right, some talk about Kareem Hunt really wanting to stay in Cleveland, his hometown. As such, he was out at his high school, former stomping grounds, Willoughby South High School, at a youth camp that he hosts every year out there. Here's Kareem Hunt about how healthy he is and his desire to remain a Cleveland Brown.
It's hard. You got to do everything you can, like, bike, running in the pool, little things like that you're not putting stress on, ankle, calf, anything like that. So.
Well, how exactly did you get hurt? It was the Arizona game, if I remember, and were you hit or was it a non-contact?
It was non-contact. Just kind of try to plant real hard, take off, foot slipped underneath me, and it kind of just happened.
Anything different about this year in your prep routine?
Not too much. I just feel like just got to stay on top of, my body, just working through it before, something like that could pop up. I stay focused on my calves now. I stay rubbing them out, rolling them out, doing everything I can,
Last year here you told us you hope Nick got paid soon, and it was like 3 weeks later he did, so what do you got for us this year?
I hope I get paid. So, whatever they, decide, they know I'm going to come out there and give it my all and do whatever I can to help the team win.
How important is it to you to stick around beyond this year?
It's important. I get to do stuff like this all the time, my hometown, my high school, middle school is over there. So, it's important. It's good to be around my family. Everybody's here, coaches. There's a lot of familiar faces out here.
All right, so Jeff, let's take a look at this. This is from Pro Football Focus. Top 6 most elusive running backs, according to Pro Football Focus, from 2021. So first they have Javonte Williams. Second, they have Kareem Hunt. Third, Michael Carter. Fourth, Josh Jacobs from the Raiders. Fifth, Dearness Johnson from the Browns. Sixth, Nick Chubb of the Cleveland Browns. So the Browns have 3 of the top 6 most elusive running backs in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus from a season ago. When you look at that,
it's wild that that Chubb isn't even the best at that.
Right.
That he's the lowest on the list is crazy. He certainly has an argument as the best running back overall in the league. It shows that they have a type, and they're very successful at playing to that type. Look, they have a good offensive line in Cleveland. It's not what it was at its peak, but I still think it's a good one. But this shows you that maybe like the elusiveness rating that they're talking about is the ability to force missed tackles both before and after contact. And that's something, if you watched Dearness last year, he was phenomenal at it. Kareem has done that his whole life. I'll go back. I watched him in Toledo a lot. He's the same dude then. He takes that first hit and has such incredible balance through contact. For my money, he's the best in the league at it. And that's something that I want to keep in Cleveland. I talked about it at the end of the last segment. Run the stinking ball. That you're built to do it. If you have questions with your quarterback, you've got three phenomenal running backs. Like, all three of these guys could start on any NFL team. Dearness Johnson, the fact that he's back in Cleveland as the number 3, he's better than starters on a lot of other teams, and that does lead to some questions. Could they trade somebody, especially if they are in need of a quarterback, if Jacoby doesn't cut it, and the whole Baker thing goes the way we all expect it to, and Deshaun goes the way we expect it to. Maybe that's an option, but I love having the depth. When Kareem went down last year, they didn't miss a beat, and that's important for this offense, because they are a team that's going to win with running the ball, with ball control, with defense. That's how they're set up to win. I love having Kareem. I love the fact that he's repping the hometown. He looks good. He sounds good. Give me more of it. I want 17 games with all three of these guys healthy, and that I think that would do wonders to ease a lot of our collective angst about where this offense is right now.
Yeah, and if they can find a way to extend him, he wants to be extended. If they can find a way to extend him that makes sense financially to the team and him, find a way to do it, get it done. And,
absolutely.
And keep him here.
Yeah, normally I'm against extending running backs, especially if you give them a lot of money. You see what happened with like Ezekiel Elliott and Alvin Kamara, and those have come back to bite their teams a little bit. But Kareem he doesn't strike me as a guy who's going to try to maximize everything. He likes playing in Cleveland. He understands what this organization has done to support him, and I think he also understands what it means because he's from Willoughby, the Willoughby, Eastlake, Lake County area. He understands what it means for the Browns to be successful for the people in Cleveland, and he's one of us. I say that even though I've been exiled from Cleveland for some time, unfortunately living elsewhere. But it does mean something. It is different. I've lived in a lot of different NFL cities, and I can tell you, my hometown success. When the Browns are good, there is nothing like it. In any of the other places that I've lived, including where I live now, which is sort of halfway between Detroit and Chicago, and I get honestly the worst of both worlds there. It's different when you do it in Cleveland, especially if you're from Cleveland. I think that means something to them.
Jeff Risdon, BrownsWire.com. As always, Jeff, thanks so much for the time and the insight. Appreciate it very much.
My pleasure. I'll have a great weekend.
All right, you too. Jeff Risdon, make sure you read him, BrownsWire.com, also LionsWire.com. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. We continue talking Browns. Jacob Roach from Dog Pound Daily, straight ahead on Sports4CLE. Stay with us.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
We continue talking Browns. Let's welcome in Jacob Roach from Dog Pound Daily. Jacob, I know you wrote an article, and interested to see kind of a little bit further what you're thinking. 3 Browns who will struggle to start the 2022 season. Number 3, we have Perrion Winfrey. Number 2, Jack Conklin, coming back from an injury. And number 1, Jordan Elliott. So a couple of defensive tackles and an offensive tackle.
Yeah, the thing that gets me with Perrion Winfrey, I really like Perrion Winfrey. If you look at his stuff at the Senior Bowl, he was just absolutely dominant. But the issue was, if you go back and watch him at Oklahoma, it's not the same player. So the question becomes why? What was the difference that changed? He was a 2nd-round player in the Senior Bowl, a 4th-round player at Oklahoma. I think that he will be great as a situational rusher early in the middle, but I just think he needs some time. And I think so many people have gravitated to his energy and all the things that he said since then. And I kind of want to be like, okay, he'll be a good player, a role player, but he needs some time, I think, to adapt. With Jack Conklin, he's an incredibly athletic tackle. His best grades, even when he was in Tennessee, was in the zone blocking and the wide zone schemes in which he gets out and he moves and he pulls. And you're looking at a patellar injury. Sometimes that stuff goes up to a year or more for him to recover. And his best attribute is his athleticism. I think it's going to be hindered, at least at first. I think he'll be a good tackle whenever he's out there. I just don't think day one when he's back that he's necessarily going to be an all-pro, and that we should just wait a little bit with that. And as far as Jordan Elliott goes, I love Jordan Elliott in that draft, but we're looking at 2 years as a pass rushing D tackle and a half of a career sack is all he has. And it looks like they want him to be the starter, and I just have not seen anything out of him to be impressed at this point.
Yeah, he's going to have the opportunity, and if he steps up, it'll be good things for both him and the Browns defense. Let's talk a little bit about Jedrick Wills. As a rookie, was really impressive. Remember, right tackle switched to left tackle. Last year, struggled, but he was playing on one leg for a lot of the year and tried to play through it. What are your thoughts on Jedrick Wills?
An interesting little thing about Wills with the injury and how intense it was. I have a friend of mine, Andy, that has season tickets. It's behind the Browns bench, right where the linemen sit in between plays. So he really told me some interesting things. Was that when Jed was coming off the field a lot of last year, he said he could barely walk. He was in excruciating pain from the way he was, his facial expressions. He said sometimes he was dragging his leg. He wouldn't talk to anybody. He would just get treatment in between plays. So I think the severity of that high ankle injury for a lineman of his size was more impactful than I think we initially thought, just because he was always out there all the time. I remind people about that change from right tackle to left tackle. He did that with no offseason. They didn't have I don't think any in-person workouts until training camp. So he learned how to be a left tackle mostly via Zoom. He wasn't in there. I know Bill Callahan was there to help and teach him, but it wasn't in-person workouts. In his rookie year, he had a 79.4 pass blocking grade while learning a new position in just a few weeks, and learning all this stuff via tape. I think that he still has some steps he needs to make in his run fits and things like that. But he is a lot better than I think some people are giving him credit for. And I think the Browns are going to be just fine with Jedrick Wills at left tackle.
Yeah, this upcoming year is important for him because you want to see some of a little bit of growth from year one, and you want to be rest assured that that injury is. I agree with you. I think it was more significant than a lot of people believe. This is kind of interesting. So Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, the Browns' second-year linebacker, part of the NFL in Africa group. And so Jeremiah, you see on billboards, had a camp where all of the folks in Africa are wearing Browns gear, as Owusu-Koramoah is from Ghana. So he is first generation here, but second generation back in his family is from Ghana. It's one of the reasons he was chosen to be in this. But again, it shows you how highly thought of Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is, that the NFL wants him in Africa. First time the NFL has been there, representing the league. That shows you how highly he is thought of in league circles.
I thought it's just, you see stuff like that, it just makes you really happy that he's, a part of your franchise. I thought one thing that always stood out about Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah last year was just when you talk to him, like his football IQ, his professionalism, just everything about it did not scream rookie. He just really seemed like a consummate pro, and that he was ready for anything that he was, thrown his way. And it's just really awesome to see that stuff.
All right, so we've talked about how good the draft was last year, getting Owusu-Koramoah and Greg Newsome. Along those lines, Pro Football Focus did a redraft of the 2021 NFL draft for the first round, and they had the New England Patriots selecting Greg Newsome at number 15, and then the Browns taking JOK at 26. So in essence, Pro Football Focus, analytics-driven website, basically agrees that the Browns, in essence, got 2 first-round picks with their picks of Newsome at 26 and JOK. They traded up to get in the second round.
It was criminal that Greg Newsome was an option at 26. Like, if you would have done a redraft after, Greg Newsome proved he shouldn't have been there at 26 his rookie year, and you didn't take him earlier than 26, I would have probably been like, all right, I'm sure. Have you watched him? Like, it's amazing, because I know I'm a little bit biased. I'm a homer from time to time, but we talked about they got 2 first-round picks. They got 2 first-round picks. Here we are a year later where people continue to say, yeah, they got 2 first-round picks last year, and they didn't pick till 26. It's not like they picked in the top 10 of both rounds. 26 and 52 where these guys were picked, and they were 2 of the best rookies on the defensive side of the football last year, and I think they're going to be even better this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think both of them improved dramatically, and they were really good as rookies. Jacob, Roach, and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. We'll head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Sports for CLE, still talking Browns. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with Jacob Roach from Dog Pound Daily. Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason, this one about the Baker Mayfield situation.
Good morning. My question is, or my statement is, training camp for Cleveland Browns is in less than 30 days. The Browns' best chance for winning is not Joshua Dawg, Jacoby Brissett, and certainly not Deshaun Watson. Cleveland Browns had best start fence mending because Baker Mayfield is your only shot at winning games. Thank you for your time.
All right, appreciate all of the voicemails. I disagree. The one thing is Baker Mayfield has made it pretty clear he doesn't want to come back. And, Mike Tomlin said it best when they released Melvin Ingram. They're looking for volunteers, not prisoners. And you certainly don't want somebody that feels like they are a prisoner playing quarterback for you. Jacob, the other thing I'd say, we know there's going to be a quarterback. A guy's going to be playing quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. We don't know if Baker Mayfield's going to be playing quarterback for an NFL team next year.
The thing that Baker said yesterday when asked this, and I know he gave kind of a diplomatic answer, but the first word out of his mouth about playing for Cleveland was no. So, I mean, even if the Browns believed that he was their best option, and I understand it from a talent standpoint, I don't think Baker is anywhere interested in being back. And I heard something interesting yesterday on Twitter, and that was the Browns are in the middle of installing a new offense, and they've asked Baker Mayfield to stay away. If they are changing the playbook, which he likely doesn't have, why would he have not been at mandatory minicamp? Why would he not be at any of the offseason workouts? Like, that just sets you up for failure if you're trying to bring a guy back all of a sudden just with training camp. It doesn't make sense with what they have done so far. I understand it. I thank Baker for the last 4 years. I hope he's successful where he goes next. But that relationship is burned to the ground, and there's just no coming back.
Yeah, and to your point, most of the offense was installed during the mandatory mini camps. So it's a different offense. They're playing to a different skill set. He doesn't want to be here. All right. You also wrote an article. It's kind of interesting. 3 Browns role players who will make or break the 2022 season. 3, Ronnie Harrison. 2, Anthony Schwartz, wide receiver. And number 1, Greedy Williams, cornerback. Take us through your thoughts as you put that article out.
Ronnie Harrison last year, he's in such a weird situation because last year he goes in as safety 2, and now he's safety 3 with the emergence of Grant Delpit. Joe Woods just loves these 3 safety looks, and Ronnie Harrison is exactly what he wants in a box safety. He's big enough to be a linebacker, but he's athletic enough to be a safety. And you're running through a gauntlet where you have to face Lamar Jackson twice a year. If you're in the playoffs trying to get to the Super Bowl, you're likely to face Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Now Russell Wilson is in the conference. Ronnie Harrison is the type of safety that can help to neutralize running quarterbacks and take that away so that you don't get burned like the Browns have quite often been burned. And if you notice, some of the plays in which that gets neutralized have been made by Ronnie Harrison last year. Now, his coverage last year was just not very good. He had a fine run grades, his coverage grades. He had just some really bonehead penalties at times. He's got to clean that up. But if he can be that third safety, it's really going to have a big impact on the Browns' success. With Anthony Schwartz, and Dave, we talked about this for 2 years, man. We got to get vertical. I'm so tired of this offense being a red zone offense, no matter where they are on the field. And it's just like it's so in this box. And like Schwartz, he may only need to catch 30 passes. He doesn't have to be a Pro Bowler. Just threaten them. Threaten them that you can get vertical. Make it easier for Nick Chubb and Dearness Johnson and Kareem Hunt. And, especially if Jacoby Brissett is starting, make it easier on everybody around you by not limiting the scope of how you can attack in the passing game. And with Greedy Williams, it's a passing league. We've seen Greg Newsome slide into the slot when they play 3 corners, and Greedy Williams has come on the outside to be the outside guy as corner 3. He had a really solid season last year. I know there was still some of the injury bug that popped up, but after missing an entire year with, a nerve injury, he helped seal that game in Minnesota. Like, without Greedy Williams, I'm not sure you end that game that they won against the Vikings. And you need 3 good corners in the AFC if you're going to make the Super Bowl. And I think these 3 guys may not be necessarily starters, may play probably around 50% of the snaps or so, but they absolutely need to have productive seasons for the Browns.
Yeah, I'm with you. If those 3 guys play, the way we think they can, it should be good things for the Browns in 2022. All right, this is kind of interesting as well. So top cornerbacks in man coverage, Pro Football Focus. Number 1, J.C. Jackson. Thomas, number 2. Yasin, number 3. Greg Newsome checks in at number 4 ahead of A.J. Terrell. And the thing I keep saying about Greg Newsome, the best thing I can say about a rookie cornerback, they don't throw at him. And they didn't throw at him a lot. That tells you they don't want to go his way.
It's my favorite saying is like, if I don't hear his name, good job. Like he wasn't that on the TV, Greg Newsome, like he's that word sticky. That's what we kept hearing. Sticky, and he mirrors. He's attached at the hip when he's in man coverage, and he just takes so much pressure off of the rest of the defense that they can be free flowing and they can read the quarterback's eyes because they know Greg Newsome will be on the hip of whoever he's covering. And being able to play man coverage allows there to be safeties over the top. It allows for extra blitzers for the pass rush. And just, if you're able to win your matchups one-on-one, it just makes the entire defense better. And that was just a rookie. And I just can't wait to see what Greg Newsome does this year.
Yeah, I think he's just going to keep getting better and better. It's a guy that, by all accounts, likes to work hard and takes his craft seriously. So, Jacob Roach, appreciate the time and the insight. Great stuff. Thanks very much, Jacob.
Thank you.
All right, Jacob Roach, make sure you read him. Dog Pound Daily. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. We'll continue talking Browns. Spencer German, 92.3 The Fan, straight ahead. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
And educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams. I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
We continue talking Browns here on Sports4CLE. Time for us to head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one with a trade idea.
Hi, guys. Frequent caller. I enjoy this exercise of proposing Baker Mayfield trade. I especially like our illustrious host's suggestion of Teddy Bridgewater. It's a good one. How about this one? Maybe Baker Mayfield and $10 million to Seattle for Drew Lock and a 7th rounder. That way we could get an experienced backup. Just a thought. Your opinion, please. Thank you.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Yeah, I get it. The Browns definitely need to get an experienced backup. I guess Drew Lock would work. I'm not jumping up and down. I think if you give me the choice between Drew Lock and Sam Darnold, I'd probably take Sam Darnold. I know the fifth-year option makes his money a little bit more, but if you're going to tell me a veteran backup, I would probably rather go with Sam Darnold as opposed to Drew Lock. All right, so let's welcome in Spencer German from 92.3 The Fan. So, Spencer, what are your thoughts? He proposes Baker, $10 million to Seattle for Drew Lock and a 7th rounder. I'm not as excited about that. I think I'd rather have Sam Darnold.
Yeah, no, I'm going to pass on Drew Lock. I think the Seahawks are doing a nice job of kind of selling right now that that's their guy, but as we know, and as has been reported, they've been linked to the Baker Mayfield conversation, and potentially maybe they swing a deal for him here at some point in the next month or so. I guess if it's between those two, I guess I'm taking Sam Darnold. I don't really love the proposition of either, but again, I guess if we're dealing with a Deshaun Watson suspension for a full year, you're looking for an upgrade because, let's face it, my eyes don't lie to me. I know what Jacoby Brissett is as well, and yeah, he might be able to hold down the fort for a few games, but I don't like the idea of him starting the whole season. So if those are my options, if those are the cards that I'm dealt, I guess I lean Sam Darnold, but I don't love the idea of any of those guys, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, and I think the thought would probably be you can't go into a season with Brissett and Dobbs. Dobbs only has 17 snaps in the NFL, so I think that's where they were going with both the Drew Lock and Sam Darnold potential. All right, this one is from Pro Football Focus. One trade or free agent acquisition for all 32 NFL teams before the 22 training camp begins. And they say the Browns trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. They currently have over $42 million in cap space. If Watson is suspended an entire season, the contract would toll, and he'd be on the books for only $10 million next year, meaning Cleveland no longer would need to carry that cap space into 2023. Makes the addition of Garoppolo even more reasonable. That all sounds fair, fine, and well. The thing that I would say about Garoppolo, and tell me if you agree or disagree, the Browns have a different offense now. I know it's a zone run scheme, but they installed an offense for Brissett, Watson, and I don't think Garoppolo necessarily is able to fit that role.
I see what you're saying. The only thing, and you're right, like this isn't what this offense isn't supposed to be built for Jimmy Garoppolo. I 100% understand that. I get that. The only thing that intrigues me, and I'm going to be honest with you, Dave, like I hate the fact that I've had to talk myself into this anyway, because I'm not a big fan of Jimmy Garoppolo. And like at the beginning of the offseason, there was the conversations of maybe the Browns go after Jimmy G or Kirk Cousins. And I was like, if those are your options, or it's bring back Baker, right? Like that's where my head was at. But with the understanding, again, with the Deshaun Watson suspension looming, whatever it's going to be, if it's a full year, I've come to this place where I'm like, this roster is just too darn good to punt on a season and just say, yeah, we'll just see what happens when we get Deshaun back next year. And if you're giving me ideas of maybe this guy, maybe that guy, Jimmy G, the one thing I'll give him credit for, like he's led some teams deep in the playoffs. He's gone to a Super Bowl before. He almost won a Super Bowl, if not for some sketchy and questionable play calling from Kyle Shanahan. So I think that at least that gives you the idea that this team is still going to have a chance, potentially, that they're still trying to win. They're not just punting on the season. That's how I've kind of talked myself into it. But even that idea, I don't love. It's far-fetched. I get it. But it's the one thing where I'm like, okay, if you at least bring in a guy like Jimmy G, you're telling me you're trying this season. There's a chance that maybe you can do something. Why not see what happens, right?
Yeah, and I'm with you. It's a guy that has won and has gone deep. He played in a Super Bowl, and I agree with you wholeheartedly about the roster. You can't – how can you look, a Jadeveon Clowney or one of those offensive linemen in the eyes and tell them, yeah, we're not really going after the Super Bowl. We hope to be fighting for the playoffs. I don't know that you can do that. All right, this is also kind of interesting. Bleacher Report predicting where top remaining free agents will sign. They say Will Fuller to the Browns. And an interesting stat. So Watson averaged over 281 passing yards, 33 games he played with Fuller between 2017 and 2020. Falls to under 250 in the 21 games he played without him. Having said all that, I don't think the Browns are looking to sign a veteran wide receiver unless the young guys look if the young guys look like they're struggling in camp and preseason, they may revisit that.
Yeah, I'll start by saying I love the idea of Will Fuller to an extent. I mean, I think the big thing with Fuller is he going to be available, right? We saw he's very injury prone. The 1 year where he was putting up his best numbers, he obviously gets popped for the PEDs, and he's suspended for a period of time. So that came back to bite him. So the big question with him is always, will he be available? But I love the fact that if Deshaun Watson is playing this season, He has the chemistry already with Deshaun Watson. So there's some of that. He also fits a role that the Browns still kind of need in that deep threat wide receiver. So I think that would obviously be enticing as well. So overall, I don't hate the idea of potentially adding Will Fuller. I do agree with you, though, like the context clues that this team is giving us right now, Deshaun Watson stuff aside and whether or not he's going to play or not aside, they seem pretty content with the group that they have. I think they're really kind of going into the season thinking, yeah, we're hoping for bigger things from David Njoku after we gave him the contract extension. We're hoping Donovan Peoples-Jones in a bigger role does some nice things. And we're hoping that David Bell really bursts onto the scene, early on as a rookie. So I think you're right. Like they've kind of shown us that they're going to try to at least go into training camp and see what these guys bring to the table before they maybe jump to adding another veteran, despite me thinking maybe they need another veteran.
Yeah, I'm with you. I have the same thoughts. I'm intrigued by the young guys. Boy, a guy that has done it before in the NFL sure would be nice to add to that group. Spencer German from 92.3 The Fan and I are going to step aside, take one more time out. Other side of the break, we'll head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
Spencer German from 92.3 The Fan and I continue talking Browns. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one, a frequent caller and a very ardent supporter of Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, this is Mr. Sooner Mayfield, Dave. I got a little tidbit for you. Today in Norman, Oklahoma, Baker Mayfield had his youth pro football camp, and he was interviewed. I put this onto the Seahawk website in case the Seahawk fans get to have Baker come to them, but if it stays even with the Browns, I'd say it's pretty important. Now, this was a man, not an emotional brat, who openly said he loved the town of Cleveland and did not regret his 4 years playing there. Now, I've listened to almost 5 years of your Brown interviews, and what I've seen is an ultimate leader who always ended his talks with, we need to get better, and I need to play better. So does that sound like a distraction in the locker room? I don't really think so. Does that sound like a man that has confidence, but yet he's smart enough to know that it's not just him? But I'll tell you a little secret. Here in Soonerland, it's we go where Baker goes. And there's no way in heck you're going to tell me that Jacoby Brissett or Josh Dobbs, or even if you bring in somebody like Teddy Bridgewater, is going to give the Browns a better chance of going where they need to go than Baker Mayfield. And yep, I am a ardent supporter, and I always will be because of what that man shows. And I love the underdog, and he's been the underdog, and he's been the champion so many times, and he'll do it again. Thank you. Goodbye.
All right, as always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Again, the problem now with Baker Mayfield and the Browns, and I said it before, he doesn't want to be here. And if a quarterback doesn't want to be in a situation, he can't be the quarterback. I mean, we saw that with a wide receiver, Odell Beckham Jr. Can you imagine, Spencer, what that would look like with a quarterback who really doesn't want to be with a franchise?
Yeah. That would not go over well. I think when this narrative first came out, I thought, it was entertaining, it was fun, it was cute. We enjoyed talking about it. And it's funny because I think it started kind of on a local level, like where people like myself or others here locally who have a platform, like, kind of said, like, hey, what if they talk about Baker Mayfield coming back in if Deshaun Watson can't play? But then it kind of went away. And now I feel like this week it's just been rehashed by a lot of the national media. And I've been saying from the start, that would be the most far-fetched idea. I mean, this bridge just feels burnt to the ground, no chance of reconciling things. I put that to bed a long time ago. I know people are maybe holding out hope that maybe they fix things and he's able to come back. But from what he said this week, like you said in your comments, it doesn't sound like he really wants to be here at this point. He made it pretty clear. Both sides seem ready to move on. I guess he kind of left the door open by saying it would take the Browns maybe reaching out and talking things through. But I don't even think that was enough to make it sound like there's any possibility this guy's under center next year. You're right. He doesn't want to be here. I think both sides are kind of at a point where they're saying we're moving on. This thing's over. I think it's best to rip off that Band-Aid and look elsewhere and, put that in the past.
Yeah, and again, I think he can play in the league, and I'm sure he'll get another shot without question. All right, this was from the 33rdteam.com, and that is a group of former NFL executives, couple of general managers, top 25 players under 25. And so they have the Denzel Ward of the Browns in the third tier, best of the rest. I think that's a little low for him. I think, and again, he may be getting penalized because last year was really the first year where he was able to play pretty much a whole season. When he's healthy, I think he showed he's one of the better cornerbacks in the league. I know the Browns are paying him like it, but he's a really good young player who doesn't seem to be getting some of the respect nationally that he deserves.
I would tend to agree. I obviously I think he's very deserving to be on the list. Where he was, though, I kind of tried to look at who else was on here that maybe I'd move up or down a peg. One of the guys that stands out to me, Kyler Murray. Like, I think we all have this idea that Kyler Murray is great and he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but he has yet to prove it, especially late in the season, that he can, be that franchise guy and really carry a team to that next level and chase Super Bowls. Another guy that kind of surprised me was Micah Parsons being literally in the top 10 after one season. I mean, Denzel, yeah, there's the injury stuff with him, but I mean, Micah Parsons has been in the league 1 year and he's already in the top 10. That kind of surprised me a little bit too. But yeah, listen, there's no doubt the injuries is probably playing a role here, I would guess. And this is a big year for Denzel to come out, especially after getting paid, getting the contract extension, to come out and prove he can stay healthy. He can be out there for a full season. I got a little nervous at the end of mandatory minicamp when he had the foot injury, but it sounds like any conflict there was averted. So that's good news heading to training camp.
Yeah, I'm with you. I saw that, and I saw him looking at his foot, and I'm like, that's never good with a guy that runs all over the place. All right, before I let you go, ranking the NFL's top defensive linemen for 2022. This is from CBSSports.com. Number 1, they have T.J. Watt from the Steelers. Number 2, Myles Garrett, ahead of Nick Bosa at number 3 and Max Crosby. Garrett has established himself as an elite pass rusher, evidenced by the 16 sacks, 33 quarterback hits, 75 pressures he put up last season. Finished third in sacks and pressures while ranking second in quarterback hits, showcasing his dominance from the edge. And Spencer, I think the one thing that could put him into the top spot, even ahead of T.J. Watt, if he can stay healthy. I mean, there was COVID 2 years ago. Last year he had the groin injury. We haven't seen him kind of finish the season completely healthy and kind of wreaking the havoc that he does in the beginning and middle parts of the season.
Yeah, I think it's more so about consistency for Myles. He has spurts throughout the season where he's just playing like his hair's on fire, and we all know how incredible he is, the athlete that he is. I think he's right where he should be on this list. I do think in some respects, like, he could be ahead of T.J. Watt, but T.J. Watt just had that incredible season, obviously, where he was right there with the single season sack record with Michael Strahan. So I totally understand why he's kind of ahead of him here. I do think those two are 1 and 2 in some order. And obviously, whether it's Browns fans or Steelers fans debating it, they can kind of go back and forth. But yeah, I think for Myles, it's just about the consistency, staying out there for a full season. And I think one of the things that fans especially get hung up on with Myles is he goes one game where he's got this massive amount of sacks, and then maybe the next game he only gets like 1, or he's not really showing up on the stat sheet in that category. I promise you, Myles Garrett's still having an impact in the game in those instances. But when you see T.J. Watt, racking up the sacks, especially T.J. last year missed a couple games and still did that. People want a little bit more. So if he can stay consistent, if he can stay on the field, and if he can show up in, I think, some of the bigger moments in games, especially too, I think he could certainly jump T.J. Watt as the best pass rusher in the NFL. Edge rusher, I should clarify as well, because obviously we know
Aaron
Donald.
Rams.
Aaron Donald from the Rams, obviously number 1. But yeah, I think he's certainly right in the conversation.
Spencer German, 92.3 The Fan, as always. Great stuff. Appreciate it. Thanks for the time and the insight, Spencer.
Always appreciate stopping by, Dave, and you guys having me. Hope we get to do it again soon. Take care.
All right, Spencer German, listen for him, 92.3 The Fan. That's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow.